Hello and welcome to another episode of On My Arty Bookshelf. Every week this year, I'm going to be pulling one or two books off my arty bookshelf and creating a mixed media artwork inspired by what I find in the book. I already have this book out because in my in-person watercolor painting class, we've been working with bamboo brushes, and they're a little bit different from what you might think of as regular watercolor brushes. They're a lot softer, but they're really quite an interesting tool to work with. And typically, when you work with these brushes, you use a different kind of paper as well. It's called rice paper, and it's a lot thinner and more flexible than typical watercolor paper like this. And I did a demo in class, which I thought turned out really well, until I noticed that there was some tape on the page. I was supposed to be demonstrating how to use tape as a mask to mask off certain areas, but I actually said in the class this would be beautiful with the petals done in pink to look like cherry blossoms. And in Vancouver, we always look forward to the cherry blossom blooming in the spring at this time of year. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to see if I can recreate the beautiful sample that I did in class at home using pink instead of that odd green color, which was actually supposed to be yellow. I keep my watercolor paints in this little tin here, and most of them are this golden brand called Core, but I have a really bright fluorescent pink Opera Rose by Winsor & Newton's, and I'm mixing together a brown and a blue to create a really dark brown color, almost black. And this type of painting is usually done by making the paint really wet and juicy, and you can see that my ceramic palette that I have here has got much bigger wells than a typical watercolor palettes. As I'm painting the cherry blossoms, I'm using the side of the brush to create a very soft, loose, fluffy shape, and I'm not actually drawing the shape. I'm just using the shape of the brush to create the shape of the petals there. And I'm moving it around. Some of them are smaller than others, and some of them have more petals and a bigger area, and then spreading them around on my page here. And you'll notice that there's another finished painting beside that, which I really quite like, but somehow didn't have the camera turned on. So I'm trying to recreate that experience here. So now I'm creating the branches off my cherry blossom tree, and I've changed the stroke that I'm using. I'm no longer using the side of the brush to create those really round, full, fluffy shapes. I'm holding the brush more upright, and I'm using the very tip to create a thin but firm line that suggests the way that the branches grow. And probably I should be doing it the other way, in the direction that the branches grow, but I'm not doing this in a very formal bamboo brush technique, but I am trying to mimic the type of form that you see in the branches, which are not soft and fluffy. They are rigid and firm and strong. That is the feeling and the form that I am recreating in my brush strokes. And once I finish that, I let the paint dry. And now in traditional bamboo brush painting, you would take your finished painting on the thin rice paper to a framer who would go through a process of boiling up some sort of mixture to make a paste so that your thin paper can be applied to another sheet of heavier paper before it's framed. So my version of that is to use my Yes paste here and stick my painting onto a page of text, because that rice paper is so thin you can see the text through, and I kind of like the way it looks. I like the texture of it, and I like that there's a little bit more than just a plain white page behind my painting. And then I trimmed it off, and when I trimmed it, I was using a page from a book of Robin Hood, and when I trimmed it off, I found this teeny little line of text cut off just perfectly, just like this. And it says, "Methinks thou art too young to be perplexed with trouble." And I thought that was perfect for those young cherry blossoms that bloom in the springtime. And that's my page for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again soon.